It's time to move forward. This is Michael's cue, so he could just fast forward and watch for when we do this. The bottom line, aka the terrible twos. By the way, for this episode, I told this to Mohamed, I always try to avoid wearing green shirts with a green screen because it disappears. But this time for the Twilight Zone, I decided, of course, I should do this for the Twilight Zone because that works. And I'll wear like a half jacket over it. So it just makes it look like, as I told Mohamed, I'm a soulless minion of orthodoxy. Star Trek fans will get that reference. Quote, as well as Neil knew the Twilight Zone quotes. And I read his script like 20 times when we shot it. And I didn't even know they were Twilight Zone references. So nicely done there, Neil. Here we go. Moving on. Question number one, the two most important questions of the show. Question number one, on a scale of 1 to 10, Dr. Mohamed Noor, aka Dr. Mohamed Noor, what would you give this first episode of The Twilight Zone?
I give it a 9. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I was very engaged the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah. I think if we adjust, and then I'm slightly adjusting for time, because I mean, you can't say, well, the graphics suck. Like, well, okay, come on.
Mm-hmm. Wow. All right. And that was quickly answered and with vehemence. Like there was no doubt in your mind. That is a good one.
Good hint on the next question.
Yeah. What about you, Neil? Would you watch the second?
Hey, what is the next question again?
I'm sorry. I start moving forward with my mouth. Sorry. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this first episode?
Okay, 1 to 10, and then I answer if I'm going to watch.
Not yet. That was my fault because Mohamed alluded to it, and I just jumped on it and went with it.
Okay. Great minds think alike, as it said. I'm also going to give this a 9. I thought it was fantastic. I kind of want to answer. I don't know if I'm giving away the next one.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Hold it in.
I want to explain why I'm giving it a 9. Why I'm giving it a 9 and not a 9.5 or a 10.
Oh, sure, you can do that.
Because there's some other episodes that I think are better. I think this
grading
is
on a
really good
scale.
episode. So because I got to leave room for my absolute favorite episodes, which would be 10 out of 10. So I'm going to give this a solid 9.
What are your favorite episodes?
10 out of 10 episodes. Ooh, the Monsters Are Due on Maple Street is 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Next Stop Willoughby, as I mentioned, I think is 10 out of 10. These, you guys know these ones. It's a Good Life, I think is a 10 out of 10.
What's the one where the guy dies and he has his dog with him, and then he goes someplace and he thinks it's heaven, but they won't let him in with the dog?
Oh, that's hell.
But it turned out it wasn't heaven.
Yeah.
That was hell.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that. I know the one where the guy thinks it's heaven because he's like winning all the time and he's getting everything.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that's classic. I remember that one.
And he's like, and he gets everything he wants. He's like, wow, this is great. I got money. I got the girls. I got this.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm getting tired of this. I want to go to the other place. And the guy, the other place. I want to go to heaven. He goes, this is the other place. Like you're in hell because you're in hell is getting everything you want.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sounds like hell to me too. All right. So boy, I was suffering through that. Okay. You said great minds think alike. I do not have a great mind. So I, instead of a 9, gave it actually an 8, which I was very surprised, and it's a well-earned 8. Maybe it deserves even higher than an 8, but it was more because there were a couple things like talking to himself, that could get ironed out. But if I were to grade it on the curve of what I expected from it, Jesus, practically a 10. You know what I mean? Like it really. It makes me understand, okay, wow, people like this show, not because back in the day there were 4 things on, but, and they're just like, I'm just watching this channel because it's either this or the news or the news or the news. But there were actually some really good shows, and this was very good, very well written, well acted, directed. What was that, Warner Brothers lot? It looked familiar. I don't know how something could look familiar from 6 years ago, but I think it looked like Warner Brothers.
Maybe a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, So yeah, an 8 might deserve more, but for me, it was a very impressive 8. Mohammed, for the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of the Twilight Zone. Now that the podcast is over and we're free to move about the internet, would you watch the second of your own volition?
Absolutely. Unequivocally, yes.
You are very sure today. This is great. You're not going to get me to poop on this show. It's good.
Nope. Really, really, really liked it. And I actually even more than I thought I would. I remember liking it as a kid, but I haven't really watched it since. And I watched it again, like, wow, this is really good. So that was great. I was very happy.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Neil? Of your own volition, would you watch the second? We're all dying in anticipation.
Yeah, so as you know, this is one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite. Top 3, I would say Seinfeld, The Wire, and Twilight Zone.
Nice.
I think my top 3 shows.
It's a very diverse set there.
Yeah, well, I try to mix it up, but it is probably the single biggest influence on my writing.
Wow.
And my vision, I think, as a filmmaker is really based on the Twilight Zone. I watched this show as a kid. My dad was a big fan, and I've just watched it throughout my life. I'm actually pitching a Twilight Zone-esque TV anthology series. It's kind of Twilight Zone, but it takes place now with like things that are going on now, but and different from Black Mirror. It's more fun and shorter episodes with twists in them. So I love the Twilight Zone. There's a lot of episodes that I don't think I've seen all of them. There's like well over 100 episodes, but I've seen most of them, and it's fun. If you haven't watched the Twilight Zone, maybe you're a little bit younger watching this, maybe you've never seen it, I highly recommend watching it. Look up some of the best episodes, watch them without them being spoiled. But it's funny, a lot of these episodes, like, they've kind of entered the cultural ether.
Yeah.
So like you kind of like know,
like Shatner's airplane one, and the one with the nose people.
Oh yeah,
the doctor's office.
Yeah, like you might know what the twist is because it's just part of our cultural ethos now. But the show is wonderful. Rod Serling is a genius. And as we said, it's very cinematic. I mean, you've got great directors working on these. You've got great composers, cinematographers. For the 50s and 60s, it's a really beautiful show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd recommend it to any new viewer as well. I think it would be, it's great. It's smart. It's good writing, presumably, and I think people should check it out. I would not watch the second episode of my own volition. Not because of any reflection on the quality of the show, but just because it didn't give me any reason to. I know that episode 2 is going to have nothing to do with episode 1. So I'm not in any way incentivized to be interested in episode 2, because I'm like, well, it'll probably be good, but I know it won't have anything to do with what I just saw. So it's almost like it's another gamble for me. Is it going to be good? I don't know. Probably, maybe. I don't know. But, nothing I was invested in this episode carries over to the next. And so if it was on and somebody was showing it to me and I ended up watching it, I'll just bet I would have enjoyed it. And I will enjoy it. And I'd be happy that I watched it. But there's nothing that's making me say, oh, I can't wait to watch the next one, So
fair point.
Again, not a reflection on the show itself. It certainly deserves all the adulation that it gets, but there was nothing that made me want to watch the second episode, and I'd be perfectly fine with not watching it. And right now, Neil's like, if I ever have you produce another one of my movies, I'm going to name 3 episodes that you have to watch. Otherwise, you won't even understand what my movie's about.
Yeah. I'm gonna you know what, I'm gonna
give me homework.
I'm gonna strap Ryan down and make him watch like Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. You gotta, like, that is it's so like prescient for like what's going on today. Like, you watch some of these episodes and it's like the same thing is going on today. They're filled with social commentary, and you see like, wow, the Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, that is literally happening right now.
Okay.
And it's refreshing.
So I'll watch the 41st, but not the second. All right. But no, I mean, again, very, very pleased, very impressed. And I can see why you guys like the show. I think it absolutely deserves it. and I was wrong about it. But that's it for us. So everybody at home, if you'd like us to review a show, please say WTF or type WTF and whatever the show is, and we will review the first episode of it only. Other than that, check out Mohamed and Neil's stuff in the description box below. We will be showing that down below. Click those links, follow those things, subscribe to this channel, give it a like, tell your friends, and be nice to each other. That's what Rod Serling would have you do, right? That was what he always said. Be nice to each other. No, he always said, be good to yourself and each other, right? That was Rod Serling.
It
was Jerry Springer.
Sure.
All right. No, he was the one that said, have your pets spayed or neutered, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. All right. But thanks very much, Mohamed, for stepping in for Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, and Neil, thanks very much for joining us. Until next time. Oh, wait. This podcast was educational.
This podcast was a fun discussion of a great series.
Pressure's on, Neil.
This podcast made me want to remove my mask.
And don't forget to watch the first of things.
And become an organ donor. Register to donate your organs. Great. See you next time, everybody. Freeze frame.